Here's the first part where you can see right there, both eyes.
Yeah, both eyes just like shine bright, like right there. That's pretty.
From Fox 13 Seattle.
Here in the Northwest, the legend of Bigfoot dates back hundreds of years. Stories of Sasquatch, a giant creature that roamed the forest, were passed from generation to generation and continue to this day, despite no concrete proof that the creature actually exists. Some not only believe in Bigfoot, they say they have encountered it. So along with photojournalist Walker Anderson, I went deep into the woods to hear their stories and check it out for ourselves.
A news crew heads into Jim Creek Recreation Area in the Cascade Foothills, a 5,000-acre patch of protected military land where locals quietly say something huge moves between the trees. Out here, the legend of Bigfoot isn't just old stories. Generations of people have reported a big black figure, darker than the surrounding night, with a monkey-like face and a sour, musky smell hanging in the air. Jim Creek has Sasquatch crossing signs and a reputation for strange encounters, but very few humans actually hike into the deeper, restricted parts of the forest.
A big black figure. It's different color than the normal night surrounding me.
In the Northwest,
it scared the crap out of me.
The legend dates back generations.
And he said this thing basically looked at him.
Talk to people who spend a lot of time in these woods.
He said it had kind of a monkey face.
And you'll hear the stories.
And then he said it had a weird smell.
Bigfoot.
And he
an
kind of
icon,
walked towards it.
a mystery, a mascot.
Well, I'm definitely open to Bigfoot.
The crew brings two guides. John Ray, a Bigfoot field researcher who says he and his own kids have seen a massive creature here and even tracked it from a trailer across an open field and back into the trees. Alongside him is David Grant, a scientist and anthropologist studying a strange print in the mud. He points out how the thumb seems to have pressed down and then pulled out, leaving a cavity and a visible nail-like shape. To him, the way the fingers curl suggests an actual hand, not a distorted animal track or a boot impression.
For if there's gonna be something, that this would be the place.
We're squatching deep into the hinterlands, Jim Creek Wilderness area. This is where very few humans tread, although it has been said that Bigfoot does roam. The signs don't lie. Sasquatch is here.
Skeptics argue everything here could still be misread. A bear print in soft mud, a human hand dragged across the ground, or a prank set up for cameras. Believers, however, see the thumb angle, the finger spread, the remote military land, and decades of consistent reports as too aligned to dismiss. Even the scientist jokes that Bigfoot is a great way to meet good crazy people. But he admits that, as a researcher, a mystery this persistent is hard to ignore. And when the sun drops and the crew heads out for a night walk through the woods, the decades of sightings and unexplained prints feel suddenly more possible.
Through this open field and out into the forest again.
Just a massive creature, it seems like. It appears that that thumb that made it moved up through the mud or substrate, and then when it was taken out, it left that cavity, and you can see the thumb print. So the thumbnail is right there. All of the evidence seems to be lining up. It's more in line with these fingers, and it's wrapping or curling around something like that. And so a hand like that would make a print like this.
If you came across a handprint like this deep inside restricted forest land, would you brush it off as a hoax, or would you get out of there fast? From DMAX UK, field team heads into the Kentucky woods to reinvestigate a well-known encounter locals call the Kentucky Eye Shine, a sighting caught on camera that showed two bright reflective eyes staring from the tree line. The crew's plan is simple: hike into elevation, listen, call out, and see if whatever made that eye shine is still out here. But the moment they start moving uphill, the woods answer first. They hear it before they see anything. One loud, heavy gaboomp, described as
sounding like something almost like something dropping, and it didn't sound like a deer. It sounded like a kind of a larger mass kind of hitting the ground whoomp, with some force.
A larger mass hitting the ground with force. Not a deer hop, not a branch fall. Something with weight. Thermal shows nothing, but movement can be heard just off screen.
You see the eyes reflecting. Charles, the man who filmed this video, was at the site with a member of the BFRO. They both claimed that while filming, a second Bigfoot came around from the other side.
So you got to see this situation, see where this happened. It is really interesting. It tells you something about their strategy.
Let's take a look at this thing.
Here's the first part where you can see right there, both eyes.
Yeah, both eyes just like shine bright, like right there. That's pretty.
The team immediately switches posture. Cliff and Bobo both note how big it sounded, and Bobo suggests it's the perfect moment to start vocalizations. The goal, draw out whatever is shadowing them.
Bobo and I are going to go to the other. We want to get up on the ridge points. We want to get up there so that we can do vocalizations back and forth. Because if there are any Sasquatch in the areas around us, hopefully they'll want to reply, or they'll come closer to check us out.
Cliff opens with a full Kentucky howl. A long rising call meant to provoke a response. Nothing at first. Then, Bobo's energy spikes. Wood booger fever, as he jokes, and he fires off an aggressive call of his own. The woods stay dark, but not silent. Something shuffles, steps, pauses. One of the crew hears a faint shh, almost like deliberate foot placement. Another warns they need to stay on high guard, constantly turning around and scanning behind them because Sasquatch rarely approach head-on. They track, flank, and shadow. Every crack, pop, or shift in the undergrowth has to be treated seriously. Rain starts falling harder, but the group doesn't expect weather to stop anything. Bobo reminds them that if these animals survive the Rockies, light rain means nothing. They keep hiking, pushing toward higher ground where they can try coordinated call and response between two team positions. Renee radios in, confirming both groups are ready to alternate vocalizations. The theory is simple. If more than one Sasquatch is nearby, hearing two human groups howl back and forth might trigger curiosity or territorial movement. When the calls start, the woods stay visually empty. No eye shine, no silhouette, but the audio tells a different story. Something continues pacing around their perimeter, staying just outside thermal range. The team debates whether it's an animal or something intentionally keeping distance. Skeptics watching the footage argue the noises could be deer moving in rain-softened ground or branches shifting under waterlogged weight. Believers point to the cadence, slow, heavy, timed, and how the sound seems to circle them rather than flee. The most unsettling detail is how easily whatever it is avoids thermals. That's consistent with the original Kentucky eye shine footage too. Clear reflective eyes, but no body mass visible on IR. The pattern repeats here. Something is nearby, close enough to hear it walking, but never close enough to identify. Exactly the kind of subtle, evasive movement longtime witnesses describe.
Thing we got working in our favor is we know there's been repeated action around this area.
Dude, I've got a good feeling we could get a clip of something on Therm tonight. I just got a feeling we could get lucky tonight.
The plan for tonight is to break into teams of two. Matt and Cliff are going to go up one side of this trail. Bobo and I are going to go to the other. We want to get up on the ridge points. We want to get up there so that we can do vocalizations back and forth. Because if there are any Sasquatch in the areas around us, hopefully they'll want to reply.
The team pushes deeper until the rain thins. Still nothing visible, still something trailing them. One member finally spells out the core frustration and thrill of nights like this. Sasquatches aren't obvious. You eliminate 100 tiny noises, and the one you can't explain might be the moment you're after. But you only know after you turn toward it. And tonight, the woods never give them that chance. If you were out there hearing those slow, heavy steps in the dark, would you keep calling or start heading back down the ridge? From the YouTube channel Salish Sasquatch, this case focuses on Bumping Lake in Washington, a quiet recreation spot layered with years of strange activity. Researcher Tristan Yolton started in 2015 after his father heard two whoops behind their home. Tristan and his mother left out a peanut butter jar, crackers, and a small recorder. By the next day, the jar had finger marks scooped all the way to the bottom. The wrapper was carefully opened and the recorder looked untouched. On the audio, something arrives about an hour after they leave, eats, then comes right up to the recorder, fumbling with it and letting out low, unsettling sounds.
Recorder out on my mom's truck, a Tascam, and at 2 in the morning, we had these, what I call the chorus audio, this multiple individuals singing like an opera, like a big chorus. Like there's I think a possible male that starts it off, and then you hear these higher singing voices chime in, like possibly females or juveniles chiming in, and that went on for a half hour straight, constant.
That led Tristan into the Bumping Lake area, Rock Camp, Nelson Ridge, and a place they call California Camp. He believes something travels the ridge at night, slipping close to campfires to watch. On July 18, 2020, a recorder on his mum's truck captured what he calls the chorus. Several voices rising and falling together like a rough off-world choir. A deep starter voice, then higher ones chiming in, possibly females or juveniles, going almost non-stop for around half an hour. Other researchers stack on more layers. Two men pushing into an old-growth cedar stand hear sharp rock impacts close by, and later find their audio picked up soft clacks and 3 distant heavy knocks they never noticed in the moment.
Looking for prints, and we just kind of got way out there.
And this is an old-growth stand, correct?
Yeah, nice old-growth cedar stand. So eventually we just kind of walk over, try to find some sticks and poke around, because we had nothing but a Pepsi can and a beer can. And that was not going to do any good. We never found it. We never found the rocks, and we never heard it leave. We never heard any brush break. So whatever was there was still there when we went out, because the ground was full of downfall, full of loud twigs.
Another witness, sitting near camp, sees a figure at twilight walk 2 steps from a tent edge into the trees. About 6 feet tall, side profile, like a classic Bigfoot, but appearing to the naked eye like a moving, black-hot thermal silhouette.
I came back and I was sitting here and I saw something walk from John Ray's camp into the woods. 2 steps, 1 Mississippi, it was gone. And the only way I can explain it is that it looked like what you see through a thermal when it's set in black hot.
Veteran expedition members recall nights where multiple sets of glowing eyes watched from behind trees and activity shut down instantly the moment someone switched on infrared assist. Their working theory: whatever's out there may be able to see IR from trail cams and night vision and avoids it on purpose. Add in prints, odd structures, family stories of monkeys taking salmon and twisting tools, and Bumping Lake stops feeling like a weekend getaway and more like a long-running boundary line.
And I was standing in its way, and the creature looks at me for about 2 seconds, and then it turns and then it walks down the logging road that I was standing on. So later the next day I went back and measured how high the creature was. The eyes were at the same level as a branch that was 9.5 feet off the ground. So that was really cool. So I had a sighting. This creature was black. I couldn't see very many details, but it's a black creature that was blacker than the black around it.
So what do you think? Campfire legends stacked together, or a real cluster of encounters circling the same hidden neighbors? In a video from the YouTube channel Exploring with Brad, a solo night hike in a Canadian winter forest slowly turns into something much darker than a simple spooky exploration. Brad starts off treating it like one more creepy forest adventure. Snow lighting up the trails, abandoned ruins, signs of past homeless camps, weird junk left behind. He jokes, talks gear issues, and keeps it mostly light. Until the first thing breaks the pattern, a strange, distant scream in the woods. Not a clean animal call, not quite human either. Just a sharp, someone's in trouble, noise drifting through the trees.
Yeah, that is just, there's something going on. You know what I mean? There's definitely something going on. Okay. Whoever that is, I feel bad. Like, I'm hearing some screams in the woods. Not good. Could even be coming from the street. Because, I mean, we did see the road up there. You know what I mean? Like, it might not be the woods, but just the fact that somebody's getting hurt or they're pretending to be hurt, I don't know what the going on out there.
He tries to rationalize it. Maybe it's coming from the road. Maybe someone fooling around. But it keeps happening. What he calls a strange whistle. Faint, far, and wrong. And this isn't an empty forest. He finds fresh axe marks hacked deep into trees, wires, and barbed snare-like setups stretched low like traps, and a rusted fence line and coiled wire that look less like random trash and more like someone's territory defense. Brad becomes convinced there's a hermit or unstable person out there with an axe, and he might already be inside their zone. Then, the footsteps start. Running. Heavy. Close. Something tears through the trees near him. He doesn't see a figure, but he hears it sprinting past, feels it enough that he dives off the trail, hides, and waits. More hacked trees, more movement. He's caught between two possibilities: a dangerous human who has booby-trapped the woods, or something else using those same paths. When a deep growl rips through the night, loud enough that Brad instantly thinks bear, and then remembers there supposedly aren't bears in that area. He brakes, bolts for the car, and gets out.
Oh, freak, what was that? Oh no, oh no, oh no, what was that? Oh no. Something up there.
Later, he heads to the so-called Bigfoot tepee camp, a woven structure in a known Sasquatch hotspot where college students and dog walkers have reported attacks and sightings. The forest here is full of bent trees, odd scratches, and that same metallic lead smell he can't place. While he sleeps inside the tepee, he hears crawling behind the tent, something screaming again in the dark, and the unnerving sense of something circling just out of sight. When he finally steps out to check, whatever was there is gone. Only old tracks, empty snow, silence.
There's something back there. Oh man. Oh, my heart. Oh, my heart. Oh, there's something back there. Oh, fudge. What was that? Oh, what was that? Oh boy. Come on, catch your breath. I can't run anymore. I lose the shoe. What the? What was that? Oh man. Oh man.
So what was really stalking him out there? An armed stranger with traps? A misidentified animal in a no-bear zone? Or something tall and unseen that owns those woods after dark? From the YouTube channel Animal Planet, a witness describes an encounter in the mountains just outside Los Angeles. The same mountains millions drive past without realizing how many Bigfoot reports originate here. The team arrives expecting another ordinary case, but the first detail the witness shares immediately throws them off. He explains that he was sitting on the back of his truck at dusk when a strange orb appeared across the road, shifting color from red to green, almost pulsing. Before he could react, a tall figure stepped out from behind a tree and walked across the clearing. He ran toward the fence for a closer look, but the figure vanished without a trace. No face details, no clear features, just height, motion, and silence.
Oh, this is it.
Oh yeah.
Behold, the city lights. There's millions of people living right down there.
That is massive.
See, that's the thing about the Big Bear area in general. There's huge swaths of land where nobody goes. This is really inhospitable terrain.
It's peaceful up here.
The witness insists it wasn't a bear. Too tall, too upright, too sure-footed. The team splits. Some believe his description matches classic Sasquatch behavior. Others are skeptical because of the orb. Lights in the sky aren't part of typical biological wildlife sightings, but enough witnesses have paired strange orbs with Bigfoot encounters that the team can't dismiss it outright. They move deeper into the mountains for a night investigation. City lights glow below, but up here it's rugged, isolated terrain. Steep ridges, water sources, long stretches of land where no one ever goes. Perfect habitat for something large to move quietly. While exploring a creek bed, they find prints. At first, they look promising. Deep impressions, odd shapes. The team examines them closely, hoping for a breakthrough. But once the art shows, the truth becomes obvious. Human prints. The moment of excitement fades as quickly as it came.
Hold on a sec. There's something that's real faint.
That bear again? That's not bear.
Look, there's a heel. There's some toes in there too. That's interesting. But human or Sasquatch? Where there's one print, there's always more. Look at this. Again.
Small.
Yeah, but there are some small Sasquatches. So I'm going to photograph these. Always have to use a scale item, but
What stays unresolved is the witness testimony. A tall brown figure walking across the road is believable. The sudden disappearance is believable. But the green-red orb? That splits the team completely. Some think it undermines the entire encounter. Others argue that strange light phenomena appear in enough Bigfoot reports to be taken seriously. And that's the problem. Without clear evidence, the encounter becomes one of those cases that sits in the middle. Too strange to dismiss, not strong enough to confirm. The orb complicates everything. The figure adds weight. The location seals it as an area worth watching.
yeah, the arch is right here. You can see the longitudinal arch, but more importantly is that you can see the deepest part right here in the ball is on the heads of the metatarsals, the bones that are right there, right before the phalanges. And humans push off on the heads of the metatarsals. Sasquatches push off on the base of the metatarsals. They're small human prints. Mystery solved. Human beings have arches. Sasquatches don't.
So what did the witness actually see? A wandering animal, a person in the dark, or something far stranger that only appears in moments no one can fully explain? From travel channels, these woods are haunted. This case threads together multiple first-hand encounters where people are pinned between curiosity and raw terror in the dark. A lone camper spends the night in the backcountry with only a tarp, a small fire, and a pocket knife. Something heavy circles just out of sight, then goes silent. Too afraid to hike out in the dark and risk meeting it on the trail, he sits by the flames until morning, flinching at every sound and shadow, knowing his little knife wouldn't matter against whatever is watching.
I saw a figure over there, at least 7 to 8 feet tall, covered in hair, maybe 400 or 500 pounds. Looking at it from a child's eyes, it was huge. It was big, way bigger than my grandpa. Like I said, my grandpa was a very big man, 6'4", and it dwarfed him. I estimated to be 7 or 8 feet tall. And I've seen plenty of bears and stuff. It was not a bear.
Elsewhere, a man recalls being a child in the truck with his grandfather when the trees erupt in noise. A boulder so big no human could throw it sails through the air, and a towering, hair-covered figure crashes through the timber, snapping trunks and roaring. His unshakable grandfather, a huge man who never runs from anything, goes pale, orders him into the truck, and tears out of the woods in stunned silence. For decades, they keep the encounter between them.
Move closer to the wood line because I'm wondering what this is, what's going on. And at that point, I can tell what I'm hearing.
Another family chases strange howls from a cemetery to a back road. A dark shape stands by a tree, unmoving, then unleashes a howl so deep it rattles their nerves. Later, whoops and roars close in from the ridgeline. The father realizes they're not stalking anything. They are being stalked and pushed out. Panic peaks when the SUV nearly goes off a drop-off as they speed away, hearts pounding and hands shaking.
Over there, and it's got my pan in its hand, and it's just kind of scraping the edges of it. It pretty much just froze me in fear. I couldn't even move. It made me feel confused, scared, terrified, all at once. It was actually kind of hunched over. Even then, it was taller than my tent.
At a riverside campsite, a group of professionals tries to ride out a night of pounding footsteps, thrown rocks, and unnerving vocalizations. One camper finally sees a massive hunched figure scraping out a cooking pan, its shoulders so wide it would need to duck and turn to fit through a doorway. When he blinds it with a flashlight, he sees the face, eyes, and teeth clearly enough to know exactly what he's looking at. It retreats, screaming in frustration from the hillside. On another property, a family finds young trees bent and woven into strange structures, as if something powerful was shaping the woods. Infrared cameras catch a necklace, bulky shadow with eerie green pupils at the tree line. The son realizes whatever is out there isn't just passing through. It's watching, reacting, and warning them to stay away. This one comes from the YouTube channel Exploring with Angelo, where he returns alone to what he calls the Whispering Woman Woods, a place rumored to have both a crying female spirit and a possible Bigfoot. Angelo hikes in on his own and almost immediately talks about a strong don't go any farther feeling, like something is pushing back against him the deeper he goes. He hears distant animal noises, metallic scraping, and then a very clear single knock from somewhere ahead. A little later, there's another knock, louder and sharper, and he starts calling out to Bigfoot while continuing deeper instead of turning back.
It felt like something just tried to grab my leg. What the Okay, now something just tapped my shoulder. What's doing that? Whoa. This is why I'm saying there's something out here. I think it's multiple things. Alright.
As the night goes on, it stops being just sounds. He hears what he describes as quiet crying somewhere off trail and calls out to see if anyone needs help, but no one answers. Then it turns physical. He feels something grab at his leg, then a distinct tap on his shoulder with nothing there when he spins around.
Where I hear crying. Where is it coming from? Hello?
Later, near a lookout point, he finds an old fire spot, an odd pink material, and gets that same "you shouldn't be here" feeling all over again. Right after that, he hears something heavy slam into a nearby object, as if a rock or chunk of wood was thrown and hit something solid. Tracks in the snow suggest something has moved around the area, and later on he notices strange brownish spots and scattered material over the top of his own earlier footprints, as if something came by after him.
What the hell is that? It's like something brownish.
He leaves an apple as bait for Bigfoot, does a set of classic 3-wood knocks, and hears a single knock answer from farther away.
Hello, Bigfoot?
Then there's the light, At one point, he clearly sees what looks like a flashlight approaching him along the trail, close enough that he turns his own light off so he won't blind whoever's coming. The light advances and then just stops. No voice, no footsteps, no one ever arrives, and he doesn't find any fresh return prints that would explain where that person went. Near the end of the night, as he finally reaches the entrance, he hears a long, strange moan from the direction he just came from, followed by spotting a car parked and facing toward the area he's been in, with someone just sitting there.
And, yeah, we're gonna explain a couple other things, up and coming important things. The heck was that? What was that? That was creepy. It was a very strange...
Personally, if something touched my leg, tapped my shoulder, threw something nearby, and then backed it up with a disembodied moan and a mystery car waiting at the exit, I'd be retiring from night hikes permanently. Whatever it was, it wanted him to know he wasn't alone. So, what do you think? Nervous imagination? A territorial Sasquatch? The so-called whispering woman? Or a mix of both haunting and cryptid stalking him through the dark? Chris Braid. On his YouTube channel, Chris heads into a place locals call the Devil's Forest, planning a simple overnight van camp by a haunted pond deep in the woods. It starts at a gas station. The clerk quietly drops a pin on Chris's phone and warns him about rituals, cloaked figures, and a hidden house where bad things happened. When they reach the spot, the forest already feels wrong. Trees bent and balanced together like markers. The camera drifting in and out of focus as if something keeps stepping too close.
Animal, was that a... Shut the f*** up. That's a gunshot. That's a gunshot. Waters in this forest. They were able to bring it out. No remains, but there were... Oh! Chris? Yo. Hold on. Tree knock. Oh! Okay. Kenneth!
Off the roadside, they find a creepy little shrine, a jar filled with dark red liquid, old photos, a postcard, and a lone car key. Nearby, someone's left a message about a drunk driver, a crash around the corner, and the words, "Embrace forgiveness." On the spirit box, a voice seems to connect the dots. I died in a car crash, drank, fell asleep, forgive. And another name keeps repeating, Megan. Then the forest gets aggressive. Something screams down the road, high and human-like. When Chris asks, "Who screamed?" the box answers, "Me."
Whoa, that was a loud branch. Hello? Someone's moving in there.
I want to know who or what we heard scream down the road where we were just in the woods.
Oh my god, me. You just said me.
I want to know who or what we heard scream down the road where we were just in the woods.
Seconds later, a gunshot erupts in the trees, then another. They retreat to the pond where women were supposedly tested as witches, sink and innocent, float and a witch. Splashes hit the water with no visible source. A massive tree knock echoes through the night. An owl calls in a voice that sounds almost human, and the necro device spits out phrases like body dump, countless abandoned in the lake, and the bizarre warping tape, as if something is replaying its own.
Hello? If there's anybody around us, give us some sort of sign and let us know you're here.
Like, I'm 90% sure this is just a bunch of junk that somebody like left out here.
Probably.
Wow, like there's actually a feather. Oh! There's blood on that, bro. What the
You might have 4 to 6 business days.
I'm like, U.S. Naval Training Station, College, Newport, Rhode Island.
That's Chillingham Castle.
Oh.
Okay. You just touched someone's grandma.
I'm so sorry, Grandma.
Ashley.
I feel so disgusting right now, dude. Honestly.
Bro, it's adding to the story. It just said asleep.
Back at the van, things don't calm down. The vehicle rocks like something hit it hard.
Oh, Chris? Or was that you? What was that?
No, that wasn't me. What was that?
I have no idea.
They step outside to fresh damage and broken branches, hear footsteps circling, splashes behind them, and knocks on the metal with nobody there when they check. Skeptics say it's all locals messing with them. Gun hunters, pranksters, maybe edited audio over a normal camping trip. Believers point to the perfectly timed responses, the fresh evidence, and that escalating pattern of knocks, screams, and voices as something way beyond a simple hoax.
What's going on right now? Hello? Listen. What's going on right now?
Is it behind?
I don't know. It's like someone in the back window there. I don't know. I don't see anything, bro. There's like nothing. I guess.
What the Chris, what was that? What was that?
Yo. Someone else. Where's the
Personally, if my van started shaking in the middle of a forest known for witches, gunshots, and body dumps, I'm sleeping in a motel next time. What do you think? Haunted forest, dangerous humans, or something in those trees that really didn't want them there? The YouTube channel Mountain Beast Mysteries revisited one of the most debated clips ever recorded in the Redwoods. A creature filmed at extremely close range by a TV production crew in 1995. The footage is messy, chaotic, low light, and shot on a cheap handheld tape camera. But the reaction captured on that tape is why this case refuses to die.
But it's taken me a long time to even bring myself to making videos on the subject of Sasquatch for a few reasons. One, I definitely feel like the field of Bigfoot is kind of stagnant, and I've just been kind of wanting to dive into new ideas and theories as to what could be going on.
The clip begins with their motorhome parked at night. They're partying, filming each other, not hunting anything. Suddenly, their headlights reveal a dark, upright figure standing directly in front of the RV. No hiding in the bushes, no distance to mask details. It just stands there, fully exposed, then walks across the road on two legs and disappears into the tree line, 9 feet away. Not blurry, not distant, right in their headlights. Here's the problem. The people behind the camera were part of a TV crew.
It's crazy. Like, the whole landscape of the world of Bigfoot is so much different, but I am doing my best to step up to the plate and try and get some more videos and content to you guys. It is sad. Obviously, my dad was a big part of this channel, and it even becoming a thing. And I mean, now I guess he probably knows the answers to all these mysteries, which is cool.
That creates the exact bait and switch this channel thrives on. Believers say the reactions sound raw, panicked, confused, just like people who weren't expecting anything. Skeptics argue the opposite. A TV crew already filming an adventure project just happens to capture Bigfoot walking by. Too convenient. Even expert opinions split. Researcher Jeff Meldrum personally visited the site and considered the footage worth investigating.
Talk on the phone, we would just talk about Bigfoot for like hours. You know, I'd always thought, oh, maybe one day we could go to Henry Lake, that lake on Vancouver Island where I shot that first Wildman film. I thought maybe we could go out there one day and film it, and it'd be a really cool thing. But like, that'll never happen now. And a lot of people have passed away in the realm of Sasquatch recently. Jeff Meldrum and
Renee DeHinden dismissed it outright, strictly because it was filmed by professionals. That conflict alone is why the clip survived nearly 3 decades. One detail works strangely in its favor. Hoaxers almost always keep their subject far away to hide seams, masks, or zipper lines. But this figure is right in the headlights, close enough that viewers have argued endlessly about shoulder width, posture, and even whether the creature shows visible male anatomy, something Meldrum hinted at privately, though nothing definitive appears in the clip. If it's a suit, the hoaxer walked directly up to a running motorhome at night, 9 feet from the lens, while half-drunk strangers filmed uncontrollably. That's a bold stunt for 1995. Even today, Mountain Beast Mysteries points out the same impossibility. If this was staged, why film it on a cheap handheld instead of their professional TV camera? Why shoot in a way that exposes the figure instead of hiding it? Why risk walking that close? The more you apply basic logic, the stranger the clip becomes. The last twist? Someone claimed to have seen an uncut version of the original tape, one with even more chaos, more screaming, and no sign of planning. That version was never released due to heavy profanity, but if real, it suggests what happened wasn't rehearsed at all. So what did a group of partying TV crew members really catch in their headlights that night? A reckless hoax staged at point-blank range, or the closest accidental Bigfoot footage ever recorded? If you were holding that camera, would you believe what you saw? Or assume you had filmed a costumed stranger 9 feet from your motorhome? On Travel Channel's Mountain Monsters, the Ames team heads back into West Virginia's Tigart Valley on the hunt for Bigfoot. And from the very first minutes, something out there is throwing its weight around. They stumble on a pile of smashed oyster mushrooms, crumbled and eaten right off a log. The guys joke that it looks like a Bigfoot snack, but it's the first hint that something big has been feeding here. They push on toward a target log, knowing something was there the night before.
Oh. What do we got here? Look here, boys, look here. Something's being too disturbed and busted up. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Good eye, Willie.
Is that mushrooms?
By God, look at this. By God, it is.
Look at this.
Some oyster mushrooms. Boy, that's a good eye tip, bro. By God, if I was guessing, I'd bet they was a Bigfoot had him a mushroom stacked right here. Huh?
Yeah.
We just come up on some mushrooms that's been all crumbled up and eaten.
Something explodes out of the brush near the log. Heavy movement, branches snapping, whatever it is blasting out of cover before anyone gets a clear look. When the team checks the spot, they're stunned to find a thick winch cable wrapped around a massive log, the steel buried deep in the bark. Following the line out, they find it snapped and frayed, like something yanked it until it broke. The kind of cable you'd see on a large dozer, and it would take tons of pressure to tear it apart. Huckleberry suddenly locks up, staring into the timber. He says something huge is stalking them about 40 yards out, just watching.
We got a cable laying right here. Look back here, Willie. The thing's connected around this damn. That has been there for a while. Me and Wild Bill just made it to the end of that log, and there's a big cable cinched up around the top of it. Got this log all squeezed down, bedded into the bark. That thing's embedded in there, holy. We start following the end of that cable out, and right there it was. Something all frayed out and broke off.
Seconds later, something plows through the woods like a elephant, crushing vines and brush. Freshly broken honeysuckle shows a clear path where something massive just bulldozed through, right behind where they'd been standing. A high-pitched scream tears through the valley, followed by a sharp tree knock echoing from the ridge. Cowboy Ken swings the drone, and on camera, a full tree suddenly crashes to the ground out in the distance.
They're territorial as hell. By God, they don't play around. All right, stay in here with us, Ken. I wish I had my weapon with me.
Yeah.
Look here. Look here, look here,
What
look
do you
here.
got? What do you got?
What do you got, Buck? Look at this, guys. Get the hell up here. Daggone. Look at this. Look at this. My gosh. I spot that tree right up ahead. I hurry up and get up there. And man, this thing is tore all to shreds. Look at that.
Oh.
The team becomes convinced Bigfoot tore it over, a warning, or a response to the drone buzzing overhead. Later, they reach what might be the most shocking discovery of the night, a 15 to 16 foot Bigfoot nest woven from pine limbs. Thermal shows a figure inside, apparently injured, dragging a leg as it moves along the creek before returning to the structure. And when producers review Cowboy Ken's drone footage, they spot a tall figure walking upright near an isolated shack marked with Trapper's Pathfinder symbol.
Stay right. Check if the thermal moving.
Man, he's hitting everything up through there.
He sounds like a deer crashing when it's on its way to die. Yeah, it's exactly like it. There's something wrong with this Bigfoot. It's stumbling around. It sounds like it's dragging its leg. Something's not right. Oh, I got him. I got him. You got him? Yeah. He's in the nest. Man.
A clue tied to an older mystery in the valley. Feeding sign, raw strength, a massive nest, and a wounded figure caught on both thermal and drone footage. So what do you think? Dramatic television? Or did the Ames team really cross paths with a territorial Bigfoot deep in Tigart Valley? In the woods near Eufaula, Oklahoma, the team behind Legend Hunters steps into a place locals describe with one repeating warning: he's still out there. For generations, people along Highway 9 and the Honeycomb Bluff area have reported encounters with something that doesn't behave like any known animal. Elders recall nights that begin normally and end with unforgettable fear. One woman describes a 3 a.m. walk to her door when every owl suddenly goes silent. Then a scream cuts through the woods so sharp her hair stands up instantly.
Took the route from my house to the mailbox and back at night. And one night when I was walking back, I heard somebody walking at the same pace I was in the wooded area. It sounded heavy.
Did it weird vibe or scary or?
It did. It stopped me in my tracks. I'd stop. It would stop. When I start walking, it would start walking again.
Another tells a story about her dog barking at the fence line before a big hairy thing reaches down, grabs it, and disappears. No growl, no struggle, just silence.
Her story matches close to what Nancy, she was late at night and her dog was barking and she seen a big hairy thing, reached down and grabbed her dog and took off.
Really? And some of these stories, I'm telling you, they're just straight up eerie.
A man remembers being 15, sitting on the trunk of a car with his cousin, sharing cigarettes. The cousin suddenly jumps, as if shoved, lands on the ground and points, hand shaking. Behind the tree stands something orange-brown, too tall for a cow, too broad for a man, watching them. He hears it breathing, heavy, wet, animalistic.
Out there where I live is my grandmother's allotment. I must have been 15 at the time. Me and my cousin was coming back from church. At that time, we were learning how to smoke cigarettes. So we pulled off the road and we got out because I said, don't smoke in the car. I said, my mom might use it. So we were sitting in back of on the trunk. Big old tugboat cars, you know, Oldsmobile, Chevrolets. Well, we were sitting on the trunk.
The smell. Skunk mixed with wet dog, strong enough to sting the nose. For the Muskogee Creek people, Bigfoot isn't a creature you mock. They call him Tall Man, sometimes even an ancient medicine figure. Local stories say he can hide in plain sight, move without sound, and vanish from tracks mid-trail.
Then that's when I noticed, but he was looking behind a tree, looking at us. To me, it looked like an orangutan, orange looking, and I could hear him breathing. As far as the smell, it was like a skunk and wet dog. I didn't try to run, and I looked at my cousin and I said, are you okay? About that time, he's crying. Well, he never said anything. I said, well, you want to go home?
Honeycomb Bluff, known for caves and hidden pockets of shelter, is considered one of his pathways. Tribes say it has everything he needs: water, fish, cover, routes that avoid people. Skeptics in town argue the same way skeptics always do: mistaken identity, exaggeration, maybe a bear walking oddly, or a wild hog misheard through the trees. But the problem is the patterns: the same roads, the same creek beds, the same stench, the same two-legged pacing that stops when you stop and walks when you walk.
On that island part right here? Get right here to your left. That's there, not in the grass. Oh, okay.
You can understand why something wants to walk through there. There's plenty of foliage, water, fish. If something wanted to hide, it could be there, but yet it could get access to the food. And I told Russell, I said, that's like the Bigfoot grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Because according to people that have witnessed this thing, it happens at night.
And stories of mutilated livestock, where the inside is gone, but the hide is untouched, only deepen the mystery. Then come the recent nights, dogs barking in every direction, then all going quiet at once. A sour smell drifting through camp, footsteps circling, slow and deliberate, something breathing in the brush, a sudden rush that sends grown men stepping back without shame.
Encounters maybe with Bigfoot?
Other than, what we had heard about half a mile from our house, that something big was running along the creek, breaking branches. That smell would come through. All of nature would just be quiet till the smell was gone.
What was the smell like?
These are the moments locals say you never forget. So here's the question the Legend Hunters team leaves hanging. If you stood on that same dark road and heard a massive two-legged figure moving just beyond the beam of your flashlight, would you call it a normal animal, or admit something else might be walking those Oklahoma woods? The Finding Bigfoot team heads into the Pacific Northwest with a simple challenge. Which state is truly squatchier, Washington or Oregon? And on their first night out, both sides claim early activity, strange whoops, tree line movement, and something large pacing just out of sight. But the real tension starts when witnesses describe what they saw long before the cameras arrived. At a town hall in Washington, multiple people recount moments that still bother them. One man describes a late-night whooping exchange, back-and-forth calls lasting nearly 10 seconds, then 2 sharp whistles cutting through the trees. No echo, no distortion, just clean, intentional sound. Skeptics in the room mumble about owls or coyotes, but the witness insists, "Nothing I've ever heard whistles like that."
Having an incident while he was catfishing in the middle of the night along a part of the Columbia River just outside of the city of Vancouver. So the 2 interesting things about this case are the location and because he described kind of a sustained intimidation. This thing came around, obviously, in my interpretation, trying to scare these guys into leaving. And if there's a Bigfoot around here doing that sort of thing, well, we're hoping it'll do it to us.
Another recalls catfishing near Vancouver Lake at 2:30 a.m. He scans the forest with a flashlight and catches 2 massive eyes, 9 feet high. He freezes. It takes 2 steps, enormous steps, and clears 15 feet like nothing. If it stepped 5 more toward me, he jokes, I would have been smelling its belly button. His friend laughs retelling it, but the panic in the original voice never left.
About 2:30 in the morning, I was going catfishing with my buddy, and I picked up my flashlight and I scanned the forest. And probably about 20 foot to my left, there was 2 big eyes, probably about yay big. And they were up there about 9 foot. And I panicked. It took 2 steps and it cleared by about 15 foot. And the grass was probably about yay tall. And
toward you?
Walked towards me. If he would have stepped another 5 foot towards me, I probably would have been smelling his belly button. That's about how tall he was.
Then comes the Mount St. Helens account. Someone sees what looks like kids running among the trees, until they notice the hair, the shape, the short neck. One turns, raising an arm with wispy hair illuminated by flashlight. Another slips behind a tree, watching. The witness says it looked like a pair of orangutans. Skeptics call it misidentification. Believers call it consistency.
Hanging out, and I see what looks like a couple of kids running around playing in the woods. And then I kind of look over. I was like, those are some hairy kids. To me, it looked like a couple of orangutans. And one goes behind a tree, and the other one stopped and was like looking at me. And just then he goes, and he like turns. When I see him turn, I see this arm go up, and there's like this wispy hair. But when he was standing there, I could see like kind of, he had like a little tummy. I could see like the light shining off of it, and his neck was short.
Meanwhile, in Oregon, Cliff and Bobo meet a vineyard owner who arrives one morning to find huge rocks moved 20 to 30 feet from their pile. Not rolled, not nudged, thrown. They test it. The rock easily weighs 150 pounds. Bobo can lift it with effort, but can't throw it more than a few feet. And that's the issue. Someone or something
Even when I was crabbing and throwing 125-pound crab pots all day, I couldn't have thrown that thing more than 4 or 5 feet max. It all adds up to squatch.
Well, I don't see any reason to discount that Sasquatches are actually the culprits here.
You know, as long as they don't go out and eat the crop at harvest time, I'm super happy to have them here.
I'm inclined to think that Jay actually had a Sasquatch on his property that night. People think they need like super thick old growth forests and stuff, and that's absolutely false. They don't need a lot of cover, and where there's very little cover, if they're seen, they just drop to the ground and blend right in.
Launched several by impossible distances, could a person do it? They tried to imagine a prank, but the pattern mirrors a documented 1967 sighting where Bigfoots were seen flipping rocks to reach hibernating ground squirrels. Back in Washington, the team meets Carlton at his encounter spot. He describes a giant outline emerging from between 2 trees, taking 2 steps toward him, then turning and sprinting through the forest with 5 or 6 thunderous strides. At that moment, it wasn't just the size, it was the pacing. It circled, repositioned, stayed unseen, but never left. So here's the part the show leaves to the viewer. Are these witnesses describing misread shadows, or the same creature moving up and down the Columbia River, intimidating anyone who gets too close? The YouTube channel Lyle Blackburn covered this case after interviewing the primary witness on location. Blake Thomas and his father-in-law Mike were out before sunrise on October 23, 2023, expecting a normal fishing morning. What they got instead matches one of the most aggressive Sasquatch encounters Lyle has documented. While unloading gear in the dark, both men start hearing heavy walking deep in the brush. Not one step, repeated pacing.
2 fishermen encountered something unbelievable right here on this very spot. It came out of these trees right here.
Blake ignores it at first. Wildlife is normal here, but the walking keeps circling, getting louder, not closer. Then, a rock hits the water beside Mike. Blake thinks it's a fish. Mike shines his light and sees the impact swirl. It was thrown. A minute later, a second rock lands. Bigger. Now both men realize something is deliberately targeting them. Blake moves up the bank with his gun drawn. He expects to see a person. Instead, his light catches a pair of eyes. Then, another pair several feet higher.
And man, we're just sitting there, and he's like right on the right side, and a huge rock just gets boom and just smashes right over to the right side of him. And I mean, like I said, well, I even said first, I said, dang, was that a fish, you know? And he goes, no, that's a rock. And he had his light, and he shined, and you could see where the rock was and how it was just like swirled out, and you could see that there was a rock that has been thrown there. And we start trying to fish again, with like literally minutes, another rock, bam.
A figure rises from behind the brush, massive, hair covered, and breathing like it just ran a sprint. Blake watches its breath fog in the beam of his flashlight. It crouches, stares, then suddenly pivots and charges uphill, crashing through brush with force no human could produce. Seconds later, they hear it hit the river and splash through to the opposite bank. Mike stays frozen. Blake keeps repeating, "Did you see that?" But Mike can barely answer. He's watching the water ripple as whatever it was crosses fast. Up close, Blake estimates 7 feet tall, 500 to 600 pounds, with light-colored hair covering even the face.
Like, that's a real thing.
This is a real
Yeah, it was like, that was my moment of whenever, like, you know, you say like your life passes for your, you know, like if something, you're getting hurt or something. Like, this was when, like, it was like, it kind of time slowed down, because it literally, this was my whole brain was just sitting there going, man, I have a gun pointed at somebody or something. Like, this is like, there's repercussions, there's consequences that could happen, you know what I mean? Right. And I'm trying to gauge if, like,
not brown, not black, and not bare-skinned like primates. The eyes were large, rounder than human, and visibly blinking. The breathing shook him most. Blake says it was so loud it carried across the river. In his words, "You could hear it from here, easily." His impossibility detail: the creature moved uphill at full speed immediately after crouching. No stumbling, no shifting weight.
The biggest difference would be like how humans and like most monkeys, they have like places where the hair is missing. Mm-hmm. This has hair just coming out of the whole entire face. Like, it has not like like cartoon eye, like that. But it was a shocking because they were big.
Right.
Like, and it wasn't like, and I've looked this up and stuff like that. And like, they're, a lot of monkeys have smaller eyes, kind of like how it's human. This was quite a bit bigger than that. And it was because that thing was blinking.
Blake says no man that size could launch forward that smoothly in one motion. Blake wanted to chase it for proof. Mike refused. He told Blake flatly, "We're not going into those woods after that." They packed up and left before sunrise. When Lyle arrived to film the location, another fisherman approached and mentioned something eerie.
It's so crazy that this is, like, I saw this right here. Like, like I said, I don't care if people don't believe me or not. This is what I saw, and you deal with it or not.
Earlier that same morning, he felt watched, and 6 months ago, the same stretch of river had huge rocks thrown into it while he fished. 2 separate witnesses, same behavior, same location.
Enough. This morning, when I came out here to meet Blake to see the area where he had the sighting, another fisherman approached us and said he had experienced some strange things down here. And in fact, this very morning, he had come out here before sunrise, and he got this really creepy feeling. He just felt something wasn't right. And then he began to explain that about 6 months earlier, he was out here when suddenly huge rocks were landing in the river.
So what walked out of the Ozarks that morning? A territorial animal behaving far beyond known species, or one of the reasons people come to Lyle Blackburn for encounters like this? If you were standing there in the dark, would you have waited to see those eyes blink? Every witness walked away with the same realization. They weren't imagining it, and they weren't alone. Something out there watched them, followed them, reacted to them, and in a few cases, almost reached them. Skeptics will argue misidentifications and fear, but believers say the details match too perfectly across too many encounters. So now it's your turn. If this happened to you, would you stay, speak, or run?